And I was sitting where I'm sitting right now at my computer. I didn't really even ask for an answer. I just relaxed my mind. And an answer started to be dictated to my mind. It was 12 lines long. When it got to the end, it just stopped.
Hey, beautiful. Welcome to Naturally Empowered Living, your safe space to guiding you on your unapologetic self-awakening journey. This is your weekly sanctuary for waking up from autopilot and transforming the way you approach life through the power of meditation, energetics, and root cause therapy. It is my mission to help you heal unprocessed emotions and release stuck energies by alchemizing your struggle cycles into opportunities for deep self-love, awareness, trust, and connection, to return to your innate essence of being, stepping back into your energy of alignment. Because here, we honor all parts of ourselves, the messy and the magic, the shadows and the light, embodying all parts that make you, you. So if you are ready to get to the root of cultivating real change, get cozy, grab your journal and maybe favorite crystals, and let's discover our power within together. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Naturally Empowered Living podcast. This is your host, guide, and mentor in all things emotions, energetics, and self-awakening, Jenna Smith. And today I am truly honored to introduce you to someone whose life path seems to be shaped by a deep, unwavering devotion to truth, purpose, and spiritual understanding. I am so excited to learn more about you and talk with you. Michael McAdams, welcome to the show.
Well, hi, Jenna. Thank you for having me. And that's a great introduction.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. I want to jump right in. I feel like we have so much to talk about, but I would love to start just by inviting you to share your story in your own words. What brought you to just this unique spiritual path? We all have this unique journey of life, but just I read a little bit about you with, you grew up in a religious household and then I don't even want to get too far into it. So can you just take us back as far as you feel called to just share about where your journey began for you and what led you to where you are today?
Certainly. I was brought up in a foundation of faith, an extremely religious household. My mother, my grandmother, my uncle were Pentecostal, evangelical Christian,
Hmm.
pretty strict, literal interpretation of the Bible. Uh, it's old time religion.
Hmm.
And my mother was brought up in a Pentecostal church. My grandmother was pastored a small Pentecostal church just north of Cincinnati. My uncle was a fiery Pentecostal preacher, and he had founded churches in Florida, Kentucky, and Ohio.
Hmm.
And he could move a crowd. I mean, the church that I attended, went to Sunday school, brought up in church. This was a fairly good sized church, not nearly what these big mega churches are today.
Hmm.
And he would routinely have 12, 1,300 people at a Sunday service. And I mean, it was standing room only.
Wow.
So that was my foundation of faith. But even when I was young, as we would normally sit in the second or third pew right in front of the my uncle,
Hmm.
I always had questions. Some things just didn't sit right. It just didn't feel right. Descriptions of heaven and hell, uh, that we're all born as sinners when there's a mother in front of me holding a newborn baby. And well, what did that baby do? That baby hasn't sinned. It hasn't done anything yet.
Hmm.
So as I grew up, I became more spiritual than religious. We still have that foundation of faith. And I proceeded to investigate, be a sincere seeker, and look into different avenues. I actually had been able to do psychic readings
Hmm.
with a group in Cincinnati called Psychic World. They met monthly, and I found out I had the ability to do psychometry, which is the ability to hold rings, watches, keys, anything that carries a person's vibration. And I had a legal tablet. They would sit down at my table. I wouldn't ask them for information, pump them for information, just ask their first name. And they would give me something to hold. And I would proceed to get a message for them in thought, sometimes page and a half. When
Hmm.
it got to the end, it would stop and I would read it to them. Sometimes they would cry. And it was more confirmation as to what they were going through rather than actual prophecy. And I didn't think I was doing anything special. I
Hmm.
mean, it just came naturally. And I believe that we're all capable of receiving in that manner. And these messages and teachings were coming from, what people with the foundation of faith would believe are their angels. If you're more spiritual than religious, then you read and learn about spirit guides, spirit teachers, master teachers. And we all are born with that innate ability to communicate with the spiritual realm.
That's so, and I want to go deeper into this and kind of right exactly where you ended, because for someone possibly hearing this concept for the first time, maybe they did grow up in a religious background, or maybe they were not spiritual or religious at all in their upbringing. What exactly would you term a spirit teacher, and how would they differ from angels? But you kind of just dabbled into that a little bit. So, kind of, is it just the, go ahead, just take it away.
Were you thinking of the word terminology?
Exactly. Yes. And I say that all the time on the show, and that the word just kind of lost me for that second.
I could see it. I could hear it in your mind. Yeah, spirit guides, spirit teachers are angels. Same, God's direct representatives, celestial beings in the spiritual realm. And this spiritual realm exists adjacent to this physical plane. Those with the foundation of faith, they continue to have been told and taught that heaven is up there somewhere above the clouds. And that's where you're going to go forever and ever for all eternity. And do what? And do what? Based on this blink of an eye existence that we live in these physical bodies. So spirit guides, spirit teachers, guardian angels, same beings, same beings. And many people, I don't do a whole lot on Facebook, but I saw a post recently and it said, I don't want to just believe, I want to know. And I believe that's the mindset that a lot of people are coming to today. We've been told to just believe, just have faith for 2,000 years.
Mm-hmm.
And people are ready to know, really know what exists on the other side of this physical plane. And I tell people, I said, there is no death. We never really die. It's just graduation. We ride around in these bodies the way we ride around in our cars. These bodies are just a vehicle to negotiate this physical plane.
Mm-hmm.
And when it's our time, when our body wears out, or if you're taken, younger, either for health reasons or an accident, then you simply step out of this physical form and cross over to the spiritual realm. Mm-hmm. And we're separated from this spiritual realm by a veil, a vibration, a frequency. We don't really know what the medium is that separates us from this spiritual realm, but it's a realm populated with an array of beings, celestial beings, spirit guides, spirit teachers, angels, again, if that's your perspective, and with various levels and layers in the spiritual realm, just as vast, almost incomprehensibly vast as this physical universe itself.
It just, this is totally random. I have two little kids, and we were just watching The Grinch the other day. Follow me here, this on this tangent. But I'm picking out of movies all the time of The Grinch. I've never noticed this before, but it starts with just a snowflake. And then it goes into this whole like storm, this whole snowstorm. And then the Grinch or Whoville was birthed out of this one snowflake, and that's how the movie ends too. And I just thought of our universe, or just Earth, or our galaxy, and then just thinking of how many other planes or just universes there are out there. And because it made me think too when you said like heaven being up here versus what, right? And that just made me think of that. I don't know if you have ever even seen the Grinch movie, but
I have not, but I agree with you. And this physical plane, this physical universe is populated with billions of galaxies and trillions of potentially inhabited planets, societies, civilizations, people dealing with circumstances, product of their own choices and decisions. People just don't realize, we sit here outside, just outside the Milky Way galaxy. That's our home galaxy, our point of origin, if you've seen the movie Stargate. And third rock from the sun, that's where we're at here. And the Milky Way galaxy is 2,000 light years across. That's 186,000 miles a second times 2,000 years. It's 1,000 light years deep. The next closest galaxy is Andromeda. That's 30 light years away.
Mm-hmm.
And thanks to the James Webb Telescope, successor to the Hubble, and they're both still out there working, the
Mm-hmm.
James Webb Telescope has photographed galaxies 7,000 light years away. So this spiritual realm that exists adjacent to this physical plane exists to the extent of the physical universe.
Mm-hmm.
And there are spirit guides, spirit teachers that deal with those beings as well as dealing with us.
Mm-hmm.
And we are that close, that close. And we don't know why. I've joked that maybe Earth is a punishment planet. Maybe this is where you go to learn.
Uh-huh.
And we've all been born to a certain set of parents in a certain social station for whatever it is that we're supposed to learn in this lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And look at the children born to Bill Gates and Steven Spielberg. They'll want for nothing. Granted, they'll have their challenges, but that kind of wealth and connections makes all the difference in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got children born to alcoholic fathers, drug addicted mothers, abusive parents. I mean, you could be born in China, communist China, North Korea, Iran.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't know why we're born and assigned to a certain set of parents. But we are here and we're here to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And our path is guided by our choices and decisions. And a lot of people wander off that path. On my website, spiritspeaks.com, at the very top, it says Spirit speaks to the hungry soul.
Mm-hmm.
And then it says, for all sincere seekers of truth, when the student is ready, a teacher will appear.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that line, that statement has always been appropriate because as a seeker, you will attract to you people, books, events, situations that allow you to take that next step. And what you're doing and what I'm doing is really just shining a light on a path for people who are seeking, trying to get back on a path that, maybe will make their life much easier, at least understandable.
Mm-hmm.
And we shine a light on that path and say, look over here, look at what you could be doing, and look at where you're at now. And then you decide which way you want to go.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was just having a conversation with my 3-year-old daughter last night because her older brother, who is 6, she was upset that he was older and why is he 3 years older than I am? Mommy, I want to be as old as him. And we had this conversation. Sometimes I feel like I talk a little too far-fetched for their little minds, but then again, I'm like, I don't think so because I told her, I said, you're exactly where you're meant to be. But then I brought up a little bit of that we all come into life with this plan. We know when we come in to this life that I was going to be your mommy and that you chose me to be your mommy and that you chose, your brother, you agreed with your brother that he was going to come here first. And yes, it's so beautiful. And going back to the terminology of, I've heard it termed as soul tribes or contracts and all these things. But again, it comes down to what resonates most with you. And I feel like you were kind of getting to that also. What resonates specifically with you? And that's the path that you're illuminating. That's the path that I'm illuminating for these people, for our listeners today. That's why my tagline is self-awakening starts here, whatever that looks like for you. Just I'm here holding that container of that, higher vibration for you to really wake up to you.
Oh, I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. And, her brother got a head start
Yeah.
for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
And, maybe it's so that he could be close to a younger sister. You don't know. Or
Mm-hmm.
maybe she needed an older brother as she was growing up to guide her. We don't really know. We can't see. Our spirit guides, spirit teachers can.
Mm-hmm.
And we all pray to God. When we pray, people with the foundation of faith, they actually have an advantage, kind of a head start over spiritual people because they're already reaching out to the spiritual realm in the form of prayer.
Yeah.
But we know that, even though we may reach out and pray to God, it's his spirit guides, spirit teachers, angels that do the work with us on this physical plane.
Mm-hmm.
God may take care of the big stuff, but all of the little stuff, the things that we need to have happen, the things that we ask for, desires, it's taken care of normally by our spirit guides, spirit teachers, because that's what they're there for. And if you take that away from them, they have no purpose.
Yeah.
So we need to have them with us and be close to them. And many people with a foundation of faith, well, I'd really like to know, I'd like to be able to communicate with my spirit teachers, but I'm afraid. I'm afraid that what if this negativity slips in and
Mhm.
they constantly, give power when it's unnecessary to either demons or Satan or that sort of thing. And I tell people, I said, the best way, you don't need to sit cross-legged in front of a candle with incense burning and go into deep meditation.
Mhm.
Just quiet your mind. If you have a situation that you're wanting to deal with, if you have an issue, something that you really need to have happen, just quiet your mind and reach out in thought and expect an answer. And the best way to not be concerned that anything negative is going to come in is to establish a filter, an aura of protection around your thought system,
Mhm.
which we each have our own personal thought system. And one of the best ways to establish that filter is with an affirmation. Now, people may be given their own affirmations. One that was given to me so long ago, I don't remember when I didn't have it. And it just came into my mind word for word. And it said, let no thoughts, ideas, or information be made known to my mind that does not come from God or his direct representatives.
Mhm.
And you can filter anything that comes into your mind when your mind is quiet, filter through that affirmation. And if anything negative does happen to sneak through, and you know that wasn't a thought that you were thinking, then you simply discard it, send it out into the deepest part of the universe, and it has no effect or influence on your thought system. And then you have no fear.
Yeah. Can we dive deeper into discernment?
Sure.
Yes, just because again, you're kind of just dabbling in this, and I really want to go deeper in that discernment because discernment is it plays an important role in life as a whole, but also in our spiritual work and in our life's work. And how can we determine the authenticity of messages we receive from the other side, or you touched a little bit of warding off possible negative influences to ask for that protective barrier, that aura. But how, if there is, because explain it a certain way, so I'm curious, how would you explain, like, what is that voice of authenticity or the Holy Spirit or your intuition or your spirit guides versus the voice of fear or ego, or insert that negativity, that negative influence?
Sure,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, any thoughts that you receive from your spirit guides or spirit teachers, again, angels, if that's what you're comfortable with, will always be of a positive nature.
Mhm.
Always. No negativity whatsoever will ever come from your spirit guides or spirit teachers unless it's a warning that you need to receive. And thoughts that you think have a different feel in your mind than thoughts that are incoming. I mean, it's really a subtle difference. But once you can identify that difference, then you pay attention. I mean, it will make you sit up and take notice. You're driving in the car, radio turned off, not thinking about anything, and a thought comes into your mind, and it says, I'd slow down up ahead if I were you.
Mhm.
You look around, you don't see anybody, glance in the rearview mirror, but you lift off the gas a bit. And if you're on the freeway, you top a little rise and there sits a state highway patrol.
Mhm.
Or you slow down approaching an intersection and you don't get hit by that dump truck that ran the red light.
Mhm.
And each of those things that are helpful to you and you recognize that this was something that was given for your benefit, it creates confidence and allows you to accept and receive even more and not question anything that comes into your mind that you feel is positive and affecting your nature.
Mhm.
And these spirit teachers in these messages that Wilma Jean, my mother, received in my book, An Angel Told Me So. It's just profound and deep how these spirit teachers even speak and refer to themselves. Now, Wilma Jean, when she was led to sit down and receive these messages in dedicated sessions, she had this wasn't channeling. If you know what channeling is, this wasn't automatic writing. She was actually taking dictation. And she had received these messages for a number of years, but she wasn't really sure that she wanted to put these messages and teachings in a book. I was the one that really prompted her and said, these are too deep, too profound, too applicable to everyone that reads them. And
Mhm.
she was working around the kitchen one day, not really, thinking about anything. And this message started to come into her mind and thought. She knew it was incoming. She picked up pen and paper. She had beautiful handwriting. And she wrote this message out in longhand. And this was a message that she felt was confirmation. She should put these messages and teachings in a book. She had been praying about it. May I share this message with you and your audience?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, this just came into her mind without prompting. And I was amazed. Again, like all of these messages, I've been involved in this material for 30 years and I've never read anything like this. But this is the message that she received. Emptiness is part of fulfillment. Let your resources fill the void left so that distinction of your purpose can be found.
Mhm.
Expression is always self-explanatory. Therefore, look inside and anchor all your beliefs beside those still waters that will take away your troubled view and renew your strength to recapture that which was lost, but is now found to be adequate to pursue the course set before you. And as you reconcile your being to represent those qualities that have been left intact, God will see to it that although circumstances have been trying, to say the least, your weariness will disappear as clouds once removed allow the sun to shine to dispel the gloom and darkness that has pervaded your countenance. And as once described before, a token of this presence will be deposited to your account and books recorded in his name.
Wow. Talk to me more about your mom. Just, I know that she played a very meaningful role in your family's spiritual story. And how did she come to realize that, she could connect with, was this the first occurrence? I don't think so. But, kind of how did she come about her evolution?
Well, again, she had an extremely strong foundation of faith, daily reader of her Bible.
Hmm.
And when she was young, uh, you know, old, mother, she would be standing in the kitchen doing dishes, and she said that she would receive this information. On my website, spiritspeaks.com, there's a television interview that my mother gave in Cincinnati. And I believe she talks about this in the interview, where she would just be receiving as she was doing dishes, mind not occupied with anything. And when it stopped, she looked around and she said, well, that was really good. So she had received, but like my grandmother, who again was a pastor at a small Pentecostal church, my grandmother had received sermons dictated to her mind in thought and even verses to songs. And in the book, An Angel Told Me So, in the photo gallery, there are 6 verses to a song that my grandmother received lying in a hospital in Columbus. They didn't think she was going to make it. And she was praying and these words started to come into her mind and she just wrote down these 6 verses. And those 6 verses will almost bring you to tears, dictated to her mind. But Wilma Jean, my mother, she wasn't really sure about all of the spiritual stuff, psychics, mediums, spirit teachers, a book called the Urantia book. Are you familiar with that at all?
Mm-mm.
That's really advanced material. It's my light reading, 2,107 pages. So, and there's a link on my website, spiritspeaks.com for it. But again, that's really getting it into advanced material.
Hmm.
So start out with my book. I recommend it just so that these messages and teachings just seem so applicable to everyone that reads them. So I had approached my mother and asked her one time, I said, do you think you could have an open mind? And she thought for a second, and she said, yeah. She said, I can have an open mind. And I started introducing her to more and more material, introduced her to this psychic group. And she actually did readings for a while, but it was just receiving messages like I did. That was what she was calling, or they were calling a reading. And she gained confidence. And these spirit guides, these spirit teachers, their joy is in our recognition of their existence. This is what they're here for. They have been assigned to us.
Hmm.
And so that's how this developed. And she just gradually got stronger, more confident. She actually taught a series of classes in spiritual unfoldment. And she had been on television interviews herself. And that's kind of how it went. And she just started receiving these messages. And when she was led to sit down and receive, she had set up an electric typewriter in her kitchen. And she would be led in her mind, we have a message for you. She would go in and sit down, light a candle, say a prayer, ask for protection because you are opening your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And she would see 3 or 4 words just float into her mind and hang there. They would not go away until she typed them. Once she typed those 3 or 4 words, they would just fade away and 3 or 4 more would show up. That's how she got these messages.
Mm-hmm.
Full page, single space typed, many times with no paragraphs. And she would receive a message addressed to her by name from her spirit teachers. And then she would receive a message addressed to me by name from my spirit teachers. And they had a different tone, a different feel based on what we were both dealing with. And again, we're all capable of receiving in that manner if we're just willing to be open and believe.
Absolutely. And I just had this come to me right now that I feel led to ask you this question. If you are open to going a little more personal with your upbringing, for possibly the listeners that might be in this feeling stuck. Maybe they were raised in a specific religion and they have questions and they're curious and maybe they want to venture out, but they feel stuck or maybe in a box. So how did you receive support from your family being, the nephew of someone that led big sermons and he was a preacher? How was the support that you received in, I guess, opening up to a spiritual journey as well as, having the foundation of the religion that you were raised in?
Well, I was older, when all of this came about.
Okay.
Didn't really talk to my family that much. I have 2 daughters. One is religious, the other is really not that much. But I had spent 2 years in Germany in the army.
Hmm.
I came back, I'd been married. I went through a divorce. My mother went through a divorce. So the information that I have been able to share, uh, my family was just okay. I tell people I'm trying to get back to my home planet, but that's a whole nother conversation. So they weren't really sure they'll accept it, but there really wasn't any discussion. It didn't come up over the Thanksgiving table or the holidays.
Okay.
So, but I've tried to share and let them know, what's available. And it's really up to the individual to decide the path that they want to walk.
Hmm. Absolutely. And it comes back to that free will. I mean, you talked about that at the very beginning of our conversation, the choices that we do make. I always picture like that fork in the road and our free will, we always have a choice. We always have that choice. And then it comes, I like see it as steps in my mind because then it's like the discernment of what's that intuition, what's my, are my spirit guides saying versus the fear, my ego, the feeling like possibly any sort of external expectations or external noise that's coupled into that. So, thank you for sharing that because it does come down to the individual and our free will and having that confidence to follow what it is that we truly do believe in.
And just have an open mind.
Yeah.
Just have an open mind. The great thing about having a foundation of faith is that gives you something to build on.
Hmm.
And religion tends to be confining because you're not really allowed in church or around people with a strong foundation of faith. You're not allowed to ask questions. You're not allowed to think that there might be more to existence other than this one shot. And then for all eternity, you go to heaven or you go to hell, the good place or the bad place.
Hmm.
And I knew a lady one time, uh, brought up Baptist, extremely religious, carried a Bible around with her everywhere she went. And she had a son that was constantly getting into trouble, constantly. From the time he was 14 years old till he was 28, it was just a series of fines and court actions and attorneys. And it was just a really hardship on her and her husband with what they had to deal with this son. And she knew the information and how I felt and what I was involved in. And I asked her one time, I said, is there anything that you could do, anything your son could do, anything at all that would cause you not to want to give him another chance? And she just put her head down and said no. And I said, what makes you think God loves us any less? Do you really believe that based on this blink of an eye existence that we live, that we're going to be sentenced to eternal punishment and damnation for all eternity, forever and ever, with no chance for reprieve, no chance for a do-over, because we may have had bad parents, chose bad friends, made bad choices? And it just doesn't make any sense that that's the way that we would have this one shot. And again, to be born to a certain set of parents in a certain social station for whatever it is that we're supposed to learn in this lifetime. There is an outstanding movie that I recommend. You're a movie person.
We are.
I mean, I heard you talked about it before, and I can share a number of movies, during our recording and even some off air after we part company or
Yeah.
after we stop recording. But there is a movie that I recommend called Defending Your Life.
Okay.
It's an older movie. It has Albert Brooks and Meryl Streep in it.
Okay.
And it's really, really good. It's an older movie. I still have the original video cassette tape in the original carton.
Oh
That's
my
how
God.
old it is.
Yeah.
And it says the true story about what really happens when you die.
Mm, that's up
So,
my.
and it's family friendly.
Okay.
Uh, I don't know if your children are too young for it. It's not going to affect their psyche.
Hmm.
And another movie is called Always.
Okay.
And that has Richard Dreyfuss and Holly Hunter in it.
Okay.
There may be other movies with these same names, so you want to make sure you get them with these people in them.
Hmm.
And then a third movie that both your kids are going to just absolutely love is called The Last Mimsy, Mimzy, The Last Mimsy.
I've heard of
And
that.
it's about these two young children, brother and sister. I think the girl's maybe 8 or 9, the boy might be 11 or 12. And they find what they think are a box of toys on a beach, and
Hmm.
they turn out to be artifacts sent back from the future by a scientist. And this girl, you talk about someone who is way above her age in intelligence.
Hmm.
And it's just a great movie. And you're going to want to have a tissue handy at the end of all three of those.
Okay. I always do. Thank you for that. But yes, we are definitely a movie family. And I mean, I brought up a example from The Grinch. Like The Grinch is it's a cartoon movie, it has nothing to do, with how I'm interpreting it. But that's where my mind has been led. And going back to our soul contracts and tribes, and you mentioned like there might be a lesson between my oldest and my youngest. I believe that my son came first because of the lessons that I needed, because he was really is what birthed my whole evolution and awakening and just becoming a mom and that whole aspect of it. And there's a lot there because I have dove into astrology and like our birth charts and the synastry overlapping, and it's just so, so profound.
Do you do astrology? Are you into that?
I personally do not. I love it, but I have a friend that does the readings and who is the astrology guru. I am not that expert. I'm just so fascinated by astrology and following the cycles, the moon cycles, and where we're at with in the zodiac and things like that.
Well, I don't do a whole lot, but I had someone do a reading, a full reading with the books and the charts.
Yeah.
And I was told that I'm a double Leo with a Taurus moon.
Okay.
So whatever that means, feel free to ask your friend about that. Say, I know this guy,
A double Leo. That's
double Leo with the Taurus moon, whatever that means.
yeah. Yep. So that I mean I could go into it. I know little
Sure.
dabbles, but yeah,
I don't mean to distract you here.
no, not at all, not at all. I really resonate because I actually reached out to this friend because I'm like I want to help my children how they want to be understood. I want to
Sure.
understand my kids and help them because they're not like me and I want to, raise the individuals that they are and create the autonomy and all of that. I mean, that's a whole other conversation. But yeah, so reeling it back in a little bit, I have another question for you for our listeners who might be curious. Okay, kind of segueing or piggybacking off of diving into possibly their spirituality, if you will, or that want to open their own intuitive abilities. Like, what advice would you offer? What additional advice? You've offered a lot of guidance thus far, but what additional advice would you offer someone that's looking to possibly connect with their spirit team or the spiritual realm, or just simple practices within their life?
Well, the Bible says test the spirit.
Hmm.
And these spirit guides, our spirit teachers, they don't mind taking a quiz.
Yeah.
So if you're not sure, then feel free to question the information that's being given.
Hmm.
And you have that pesky little gift called free will.
Hmm.
You can accept or reject any advice, guidance, direction, or support that's given. So if you have a situation, if you're not sure about something you're asking for, I'm sure you're being led in a certain way with your own mind as to what you want to do.
Hmm.
And then a thought may come into your mind and say, I'd try this, I'd do this a little different. Don't push the issue right now, wait and let it play out so that this person that you may have a problem with or a family member, let their realization be made known to them to see if their attitude changes. This is just coming into my mind.
Hmm.
So, feel free to compare the advice and the direction that you're given from your spirit teachers versus what you want to do and just see which works out the best.
Hmm.
And it'll only take a few bad experiences to realize that they have your best interest at heart. You have free will. You can ignore their advice and do it your own way. But after a while, when it doesn't work out and you find yourself veering off the path that you want to be on, then it's a wake-up call.
Absolutely. And that's something too, when I was really getting started on my own path, because I grew up in a certain religion and I had a lot of fear of leaving that confinement and leaving that box, if you will. And I had a lot of questions, a lot of curiosity. And you said it already, but that is really what led me to allow myself into this space is yes, to be open-minded, but also God's love, life force, source, whatever you will, whatever you want to call it, it's always for your highest good and it's always the positive. It's always the loving energy. And that is how I started the prayer that I say every night before bed. That, before I get started on anything, any endeavor, asking for the protection, asking, to cover me in that protection aura. And something else that's kind of humorous, I still ask just with fun, but I used to say when I was doing these tests with myself, then my spirit team, I'd be like, slap me in the face with a sign. Like I need to see it. I need to see it. Like slap me in the face to where I can't miss it. And there's been some pretty incredible stories in, those automatic writings that I've had early mornings. And then throughout the day, I'd be like bring me to tears and like wow, like there's no way that anyone could make that up.
And you have to be willing
Hmm.
to accept not only the information, but the Bible says, "Ask and ye shall receive; seek and ye shall find; knock and the door shall be opened."
Hmm.
Each one of those three statements requires a positive action on our part. If you're not willing to ask, you're not going to receive.
Hmm.
If you're not seeking, you're not going to be led and find, what the next step on your path is going to be. And if you're not even willing to knock on the door, why would you expect it to be opened?
Exactly.
But people, well, just in case you're wrong, I don't want to take the chance.
Hmm.
I'm afraid. Well, ask for the confidence and the positive influence. And again, um, question the spirit teachers, let them prove themselves
Yeah. Let
and
me.
know, you can call them angels if you want,
Hmm.
but they really are spirit guides, spirit teachers. I mentioned the Urantia book earlier,
Hmm.
and the Urantia book talks about a personalized thought adjuster. And it says that at the age of our first moral decision, when we make a decision that we know, shows that we know right from wrong, and it's normally about 4 to 4.5 years old, that we are then assigned a personalized thought adjuster, guardian angel, spirit teacher, and that adjuster will stay with us for life and help us along our way. And we are not alone. No one, not a single one of us is alone right now in this existence. We have at least one spirit teacher, some, depending on your level of spiritual maturity, you may have half a dozen. These spirit teachers in these messages that Wilma Jean received, many of the messages are signed with the name of the spirit teacher that presented the message. And on my website, spiritspeaks.com, there again, we talked about the television interview that my mother gave in Cincinnati. You can scroll down, watch her interview. She's the pretty lady in white on the left. And posted on her interview is a message from volume 2 of the book that she received. And I had posted this message. Volume 2 is not out yet. I'm looking for a new publisher. And this was the only time in a session where she was led to sit down and receive. 2 different spirit teachers moved in the same session, gave 2 different messages, and signed 2 different names. And it was obvious that the second teacher was a different teacher than the first, because the whole cadence and phrasing of the message is different. May I share this message with you? It's just a little more than a long paragraph.
Absolutely.
But I believe it's just really deep and profound. But the next to the last line is the line that made me sit up and take notice. May I share this with you and your audience?
Absolutely.
So this was the first teacher's message. There is a resurrection period through which man must travel in order to come into the realm of things godlike. You're to consume and digest all that is given here, as this comes from one highly qualified to meet the needs of this generation. You are not the sole property of yourselves. God still holds the everlasting command over your being, and in him must one take refuge. You are to be considered as one who has been stripped of all belongings and left to die by the wayside. In this manner are you then open to any help that would be forthcoming. You are by your very nature ones who would depend on your own intellect to carry you through. However, by giving of your soul into the hands of God, do you prosper and develop more freely into that which denies the outcome of some situations, knowing full well that it is the hand of God leading and directing you so that you may arise victorious in the end. There is never a time when you will be without the Father, nor his ever-loving approaches to see that you follow the path that directs you homeward. Take note that we say homeward. As your heavenly Father so resides in that vast insurmountable environment of time and space, so shall ye abide in joint communication with him by the grace with which he covers you and by your ability to accept this grace and use it for your own development. There are others here who wish to make themselves known to you, so I will step aside for this time. My love and devotion follows you as you trod onward but ever faithful to your goal. And that message was signed, your loving guide. Now that next to the last line made me sit up and take notice. And he says, there are others here who wish to make themselves known to you. My question is, who are the others and where is here? What do you mean there are others here? Where are you in relation to us on this physical plane? And the answer to that is they are in this spiritual realm that sits adjacent to this physical plane. And we have been given this gift of 2-way communication, an innate ability born with it to communicate with the spiritual realm, to reach out with questions and seeking for advice. And they are able to present this information to us based upon their long-term view of our existence as we walk our path.
That's so profound. Do you have more excerpts that you're willing to share? I'm in tears.
That teacher moved out, said he would step aside, and another teacher moved in. Now that teacher gave a 1.5 pages, single space typed, long, deep, profound teaching. But these messages and teachings, they always end either with a deep, profound last paragraph or a really deep last sentence. So this second teacher's message ended with one of these deep, profound paragraphs. May I share this with you and your audience? So this was the second teacher that moved in, and the last paragraph of his message. You are not as sheep herded here and there, but you are likened unto the lamb that is cared for individually, nourished and loved until the full and total development allows it to be master of itself. So is man so kept, and denied only those things that would not in the long run nourish his spirit. God is all wise and loving in his dispensations. We are not to judge the workings of our Father, nor are we to judge each other. Work always to improve your own beings, for in the end time, there lies your soul, with all the nourishment that you have given it, totally dependent upon the outcome of your intentions. Mm. And that message was signed, your loving spiritual teacher. 2 different teachers, 2 different messages.
Wow.
And these messages and teachings, like I said in the book, each message, she would get a message for her and a message for me. But it's like these messages and teachings are woven with a universal thread. Mm-hmm. And everyone who has read these messages have said, well, this sounds like what I'm dealing with. This sounds like they're talking to me. I had one person that I interviewed with, well, how do they know? How do they know what I need to hear? How do they know where I'm at in my search and what I need to know? So when I do these interviews, I've had a number of hosts, they say, well, your mother received, your grandmother received. They said, do you receive? And I said, yes. I said, I've been spoken to pretty much all my life, but in different than my mother sitting down and receiving these dedicated messages. And when I was first looking for a publisher, I was on a number of different publisher websites. Mm-hmm. One of the websites asked questions about your work. One of the questions was, what makes your material unique? Why would anyone want to read this? Great question. And I was sitting where I'm sitting right now at my computer. I didn't really even ask for an answer. I just relaxed my mind. And an answer started to be dictated to my mind. It was 12 lines long. When it got to the end, it just stopped. May I share this answer with you and your audience? Mm-hmm. So the question was, what makes your material unique? And this is the answer that I was given. The uniqueness of any material is in the manner in which it touches the soul. An open and searching mind pulls the soul and the body in which it inhabits onward and upward with hunger and determination in its quest for spiritual nourishment, ever mindful that the path upon which we walk is the path toward God. Lives lived, experiences endured, goals accomplished, and loved ones lost are all encounters upon that path. Strive always for the highest possible communication with our Heavenly Father. Believe in yourself, as the Father within you is guiding, leading, directing, and comforting you upon this journey that we call life. Blessings be upon you as you walk your chosen pathway.
Mm. I love that. And you beautifully woven in, what's your tagline on your website or at the header on your website?
It says, the Spirit speaks to the hungry soul.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that. Thank you so much just for sharing the excerpts and just for this insightful conversation. When I read just a little about you and, just kind of preparing for this conversation, how you are a seeker of truth and just devoted to truth. And I resonate very deeply with that. And I'm a lover of learning and just of different religions and the parallels, everything down to the core being so similar, and just the unity and connection that we have as a collective, as a humanness of where we are in this realm. So I thank you so, so much.
Not a problem. May I share while we're on recording here and on the air? Could I share one more movie with you that I think your audience would really enjoy?
Yes, please.
I found it by accident. I felt like I was led to it. Have you ever seen or heard of a movie called Risen?
That sounds really familiar.
Just Risen.
That sounds
Came out in 2016.
I was going to say it's relatively new. Mm-hmm.
And it's the story of this Roman tribune, serious Roman soldier, who was tasked by Pilate to find the body of Jesus that was missing from the tomb. Mm-hmm. The Sanhedrin, the priest from the temple, had come to Pilate and said, we have a problem. We believe that Jesus's followers broke in and stole the body so that they could claim that he rose from the dead. We don't want a Messiah on our hands. You've got to do something to stop this. Mm-hmm. So Pilate tasked his number 2, this Roman tribune, to find the body or find a body of Jesus. And it's more of a foundation of faith movie than the other movies that I shared, mm-hmm. but it's really, really well done. I like it because a lot of it looks like it was shot on location, rather than the back lot of a movie studio.
Yeah.
That's another movie that will hit you hard at the end.
Thank you. Oh, I'm so excited. When my husband gets home, I'm going to share with all those videos with him.
I think you'll like those.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd love for you to share just how we can support you, continue exploring your work. You mentioned a couple times your website, your book. So share once again. I'll link everything in the show notes as
All
well.
right. Spiritspeaks.com is the website.
Mhm.
And the book is titled An Angel Told Me So. And the book is available on the website. It's available through Barnes and Noble. Their Barnes and Noble system can order it. Ingram is my national distributor. So if you have a favorite little independent bookstore that you like to deal with, they all deal with Ingram. And it's available on Amazon.
Perfect.
And I have a contact page on my website if any of your listeners would care to contact me. I also have a great links page where I recommend two more advanced books. Get mine first. I think it will just lead into
Mhm.
just where people are in their path. But the Urantia book is on there, and a book. Are you familiar with Edgar Cayce?
I've heard of the name.
He was amazing. I mean, there's been hundreds of books written on Edgar Cayce,
Hmm.
but there's a book that I recommend by Sidney Kirkpatrick, who just passed away about 2 months ago. He was really good, and it's the definitive biography on Edgar Cayce, and it's just titled Edgar Cayce, An American Prophet.
Okay.
So those, again, that's more advanced material,
Hmm.
but these messages and teachings are just so profound and applicable to everything that people seem to be dealing with on a daily basis.
Hmm.
And it's just an amazing body of material. As long as I've been involved in this, I've never read anything like it.
Awesome. Are you familiar with the Course in Miracles?
I've had people ask that. I'm not familiar with it. I've never read the book. I've had it recommended.
Hmm.
This is similar. These messages and teachings. Did you ever hear of Neil Donald Walsh's series, Conversations with God?
Hmm. Hmm. I have it on my Amazon like wish list.
He, I had Wilma Jean, my mother had been receiving these messages for almost 15 years. His
Hmm.
book came out, I believe, in 95. And his first 3 volumes and a study guide have sold 4 million copies.
Hmm.
There was a lot of buzz about it. So I, being involved in this material, I picked up the first book, got through about 2/3 of it, and it wasn't anywhere close to the profound nature and deep, profound teachings that Wilma Jean was receiving in
Hmm.
these messages from spirit teachers.
Hmm.
I mean, it was like comparing fifth grade to college.
Yeah.
And so, but what was, I think, good about what he did and how well his book was received is he had planted the seeds for people to be open to information to be shared from the spiritual realm by spirit teachers. He was supposedly receiving information from God, but just reading what I didn't really believe was questions that would resonate with God or answers that God would give.
Hmm.
But again, because I had this other information to compare it with, I think that anyone who has read and wanted to see what was going to come next with conversations with God, this is the next level. This is the next step.
Awesome.
And
Thank
they
you.
will not be disappointed.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for your time and just space and energy to be here with us today. And thank you to the listeners that are here. I know that you were brought here for a reason. So, to the listeners, also, everything that we talked about, I'll link that in the show notes below so you can explore more, stay connected, check out the additional information, and just, yeah, to connect with Michael as well. So, thank you so much again for being here.
Thank you, Jenna. Thank you again for having me.
And until next week, as always, simply be you. You have everything inside of you to learn your energy of alignment and be unapologetic in who you are. We are sending our love and light.
Did you find this episode free or empowering? Please read my review. Tickle, 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 boop.
Thank you for spending the sacred time with me on Naturally Empowered Living. If this episode brought you closer to stepping into your energy of alignment, I'd love for you to leave a written review and share how this show has supported your journey. Your feedback truly lights me up and helps others find the space of transformation. And sharing it with someone who might need it spreads the ripple of healing even further. Be sure to check the show notes for ways to connect with me and explore personalized healing sessions and mentorships to deepen your self-awakening journey. Thank you. I appreciate all you are and all you do.